Hey everybody, welcome to the inaugural episode of the Good, Faster, Cheap podcast. My name is Devin Kincannon, and I'm here with my colleagues Nicole Barber and Marina Schmilo. Today, we are going to be talking about all things Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and just November promotions for e-commerce companies. We're bringing this to you from our agency, Golden Digital.
This is Golden Digital. We're an e-commerce agency specializing in e-commerce strategy, email marketing, paid media advertisement, and website optimization.
So this is our first podcast. We're going to be doing these on a regular basis. We hope that you like it. It's a little awkward right now. We promise this is the worst it'll ever be. All that said, we're really excited to talk about Black Friday, Cyber Monday strategies. And now, let's get into it.
So today's episode is about Black Friday, Cyber Monday. The holidays are almost here, so we wanted to share some of our knowledge and hopefully help some of you when it comes to driving sales this season. So before we dive in, a quick overview why Black Friday, Cyber Monday is so crucial for e-commerce. Nicole, I feel like this is totally your zone.
It is. Black Friday, Cyber Monday is a very important time period. I mean, most sales, usually for the entire year, the vast majority come from the November, December time period. It's lead up to the holidays, obviously. And it's just a traditional time for shopping. I think that that's definitely changed over the last few years, especially. Whereas, when we first started, Black Friday, Cyber Monday literally meant Black Friday, Cyber Monday, wait until the night of Thanksgiving. I think now we're seeing things shift into a longer time period, starting at the beginning of November, going all the way through December in some cases.
Exactly.
Yeah, it certainly has changed, especially in the post-COVID world. I feel like it's completely different from what it used to be, and people are starting so much sooner than they used to. It's no longer waiting for the 12 a.m. mark. People get going a week before that. But before we dive into actual strategies and how to help you optimize some of these things, let's talk about the importance of setting goals and making sure that you're ready for all of it. So starting with your inventory, you have to keep in mind what you're pushing in those emails or paid media channels. What are you trying to sell? And do you have enough of it? Is anything out of stock? Like, are you ready for all of that? Setting the goal of okay, well, this year we would like to hit this number, and this is what we'd like to do as far as sales, conversions, things like that. So that, setting a goal is the first step to going exactly where you're trying to go.
I think the one thing that I would say is that if you're a newer business just starting out, you don't really know where you're going to land in the next couple of months. For more mature businesses that have been around a little bit, I mean, obviously you should be forecasting your sales and your revenue every month based around all the activities you have going on, promotions, new product launch, all of that stuff. But yeah, I mean, these couple months in particular, being that they're so critical for your whole year number, I think it makes a ton of sense to try to set some stretch goals as far as sales, revenue, and that should trickle down into your investment in your individual marketing channels. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into some of the different channels and the strategies there. If you want to do a big number this month, you have to kind of put planning, money, and execution into all these different areas that you expect to kick up to the whole.
Yeah, absolutely. And the biggest channel right now is email marketing when it comes to this holiday season, and can't underestimate that at all. And I know there's a lot of strategy when it comes to putting the right content out there. So Nicole, let's talk about the pre-Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And what do you think the best strategy for that time, the 2 weeks, the months leading up to the holiday?
I think it's much further along, and depending on the type of business, like Devin said, with product-based businesses, and especially if you're a mature business, you really should look at almost a year in advance what your promotions would be for Black Friday. Because if you are actually buying into product for Black Friday, you obviously want to develop that and have that be at the lowest cost possible that makes sense to drive margin. If you're doing something like a loss leader, doorbusters, things like that we've seen work especially well, that's almost a year in advance planning process to make sure that you're getting product at the right cost to be able to sell that and to drive traffic overall. I think leading up into Black Friday, Cyber Monday, your promotions should really be solidified sometime around July, is usually what we recommend. Obviously, that's not always possible depending on the size of your business, where you are as a business, a number of different factors. When it comes to actually implementing, even as early as September, when it comes to email and beyond that, you're going to want to make sure, or before that, you're going to want to make sure that you have your sending requirements obviously buttoned up, any sort of DNS records or anything that would hinder your ability to be sent directly into the inbox, especially over this time period where you're sending multiple emails daily, sometimes multiple emails, reminder emails. You should start to ramp up even win back campaigns, which we usually suggest sometime beginning of October, end of September as well. Anyone who's lapsed in your subscriber list, so they haven't purchased in, let's say, depending on your, again, type of business, but somewhere around 6 months usually is what we would suggest. You start to incentivize people to come back, re-engage in your emails. So it could be sending them some type of incentive. Doesn't have to be a straight percentage off, but it could be something like free shipping, could be a free gift, could be early access to some kind of product drop, something that is more enticing than a standard newsletter email, sometime around 6 weeks, 2 months out from actual Black Friday. And then once you actually get into October, updating your messaging to actually start directly speaking to Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So your email capture, your pop-up, your email forms, anywhere where you're capturing email, speaking directly to early access to Black Friday, first to know, that type of thing. That messaging really works well to help grow email lists so that you're able to speak to customers during that pivotal time of the year.
When it comes to the right message, what do you think is the best practice here? Is this stressing all over again that we have the best sale coming up? Is this the hey, inventory is running out? What are your thoughts on the best compelling message out there?
Well, pre-Black Friday, it's really around early access, because I think shoppers are now conditioned. They understand that things sell out, especially over this time period where you're having, so much traffic, inventory is limited. I think it's a mix of those types of things around early access. We are going to sell out. We don't have that much inventory. You want to be the first to buy. That will help to build your list going into Black Friday.
I mean, obviously we've talked about, but it seems like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, or just the whole month of November really is fair game for being super promotional. And it's really turned into an arms race, right? Where retailers, I'm sure, are loath to give up the margin by being so promotional all month. But at the same time, if your competitors are all doing this and you're not, likely you're missing out on opportunity. What are some things that people can potentially do short of the ubiquitous site-wide % off discount that can still drum up anticipation? I mean, how complicated can these promotional strategies get?
I actually would keep it simple. It could be you use other types of incentives. It doesn't have to be a straight % off the entire site kind of situation. Though I do think that there's a place for that, especially on Cyber Monday for a shorter period of time. But if you're extending Black Friday, I would tier out the promotions even, or schedule them throughout the month so that you're having different types of messages build up to Black Friday.
Yeah.
So it could be, maybe in your first week, it's a free gift. I do think shipping promotions layered on top of some type of financial, promotion is a good way to go to mix up promotions. But I think where you get into trouble is when you start to layer 3, 4, 5 different types of promotions. And we have seen people do that, thinking that it's going to drive more volume, but you have to be quick. You have to be fast. You have to grab somebody's attention right away. And if you've got, an essay in your copy promotion where you're having to explain multiple different things, you're not going to grab anyone's attention. So, especially over Black Friday and Cyber Monday, which I think we'll get into like creative best practices, but keep it short. Keep it short and simple. If you have a longer Black Friday promotional time period, schedule out your promotions to build on top of each other, end one and start another.
Yeah, so when it comes to the perfect email template for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, weeks leading up to it, in short, what is your ideal template, starting with the headline?
With like subject line and pre-header, personalization, keep the offer in the subject line, in the pre-header. I often recommend and have seen work a really straightforward, impactful graphic at the top of the email. It says exactly what the promotion is, because you have to remember, you don't have to give away everything in the email. The point of the email is to get visitors to click through and see more. Things like mystery discounts, we've seen work really well before, entices clicks. Just a straightforward graphic at the top of the email, a dark background, white text, you can make a flash even, and then product below. So that's usually what I recommend for Black Friday. It's something at the top that grabs the attention, and then a product grid below of straightforward product shots even. You can mix those messages in throughout the month, but your Black Friday email that goes out to announce that promotion, that's your time to incentivize the clicks.
And in your opinion, where should this email be going to? Is this going to the homepage, the product page, the collection page, or are we talking landing pages?
It depends on your type of product and your type of business. So if you are, let's say, an apparel business that has hundreds of SKUs, different types, tops, bottoms, dresses, things like that, you might want to look into some type of landing page that breaks out different types of categories, things like that. The only thing about landing pages is that you really have to make sure that they're shoppable. When we build out landing pages, we make sure that we've got a mix of lifestyle photography and product carousels, product grids, add to cart directly from the page kind of thing. You don't want to add a lot of clicks to get to add to cart. If you are a business that has less products, drop them right into a shop all page. If you've got 10 or less products, drop them right into a category page. Unless you have a product that needs a lot of explanation, that type of thing. But you're already talking to people usually that, at least from email, you're already talking to people that have some base knowledge of your product. It could be different for ads.
Yeah, and I can tell you from a consumer standpoint, there's nothing that annoys me more if I get an email for sale for Black Friday and there's an item there that maybe I am looking forward to purchasing, and then you click on it and you get to like some kind of general page that just has a whole lot of stuff, and that's not what was advertised in that email. So that's an immediate exit. I'm out. I don't have time for this. We know how little patience people have right now to shopping online. So yeah, definitely people have to keep this in mind.
Yeah, and to Devin's point earlier too around inventory, it is definitely a bounce if you're promoting any sort of products, whether that be ads, email, whatever else. When someone clicks through, I think this has happened to all of us where we've clicked on something that has come up in an ad, clicked it, oh, it's sold out. Oh, we just want to get me to the site. I won't fall for that again. And I think a lot of consumers are that way, where it just leads to frustration.
Yeah, for sure. And when it comes to that Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale, either one of them, once somebody has purchased something, let's say I did open an email or maybe it was one of the ads and I bought something, do you guys think there's a potential to keep that going, that momentum, and keep selling to that person? Or is this like a one and done and that's it? Is there a way to continue that relationship with the customer?
And you're going to definitely want to be collecting email addresses. Like we mentioned, email is still a really important channel. I think there's been a lot of discussion about this in the last few years about whether or not email is as important as it used to be. We definitely see through working with our clients that this is one of the main channels still to this day. And it's a consistent way to be able to talk to people. Make sure that like when somebody is making purchase over Black, collect an email address that they're signing up for marketing emails and SMS. There are some strategies that you can employ directly after Black Friday too. They're obviously going to fall into your welcome series. That's one thing that you want to make sure prior to Black Friday as well, is that your welcome series is up to date. You've got the best photos in there. It's all still relevant. You've got a series, not just one email that drip out over time. That's really important. Having something to talk about, and this is oftentimes what I tell our clients too, like if you have a new product drop or something, you know, maybe a new color in a best-selling style, I like to drop that directly after Cyber Monday so that you have something to talk about. No matter what you do, you're going to see a slump post Cyber Monday. It's just how bad is that slump going to be? And I think that there are things that you can do, like making sure that everybody is signed up for your email list, that you're able to talk to people in a variety of different ways, and that you have something to talk about directly after Black Friday. And it's not, you're not going to see that volume through December likely, unless you have a major drop or something that people are really looking forward to. But you can mitigate some of the slump.
You know what my favorite post Black Friday, Cyber Monday promotion is? Kill a couple birds with one stone. Sale on sale, baby.
Yeah,
keep stuff even cheaper. Like
absolutely,
you can use it as just like a psychological driver to get people to the site, because people obviously love deals, especially during this time of year.
Yes,
but also, I mean, if you were trying to clear your books of old inventory that's just not moving at normal price, it's a great way to kind of like get off of some old inventory, even if it's not at the margin you were initially hoping for. But I mean, that product just sitting around gathering dust in your warehouse isn't really helping anything.
Yeah.
And Nicole, to your earlier point about email and just like how important it is, I can tell you, you know, being more on like the paid ads and organic search side of things, that it's more important than ever, because we're seeing just across the board organic traffic to websites go down. Like it's just getting more competitive. The Googles and the Facebooks of the world are publicly traded companies that like have investors that they need to report profit to. They're not exponentially growing the amount of people that are using their products. So the only way that they can report greater earnings every year is to make more money from their existing audience base. That means that less stuff happens for free. You're getting less, like clicks coming through in your organic search traffic. You're getting less organic social traffic to your site. And a lot of times you can't buy your way to heaven. I mean, as much as like I love running me some ads, we do a ton of that over here at Golden. You need like a good multi-channel mix of traffic to be able to kind of be profitable. It's hard to do it with just like one thing working really well.
Yeah, and here's a warning to brands that often do sales all the time, nonstop throughout the year, because that's maybe the best way you can sell your product. And well, maybe it's not the best way, but you got your customer certainly hooked on doing sales. If you're constantly doing sales, it's a sale because it's a Friday, it's a sale because new stuff dropped or whatever, you're going to have a harder time getting people to purchase on the Black Friday sale, because it's like, well, I just bought the sale. So be careful with how much you promote products on a discount basis. Be careful with doing sales too often. Save it for these occasions such as Black Fridays, Cyber Mondays, so you can really get people waiting and anticipating for, oh my God, there's going to be a major sale on sale or whatever else you got up your sleeve.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Well, I mean, I think it's important to understand that people that come to your website for the first time during Black Friday, it's a different segment than those that are they know your brand, they're a loyal customer, and oftentimes you have to speak to these people differently. So make sure you have the right segments. You understand that these were the holiday shoppers. They just came in because maybe they Googled a product they want and they landed on your website and you happen to have the best sale and they purchased it. So I agree with Nicole that having that welcome series, having the best conversation from that point on, and treating that person as the new customer you really want to introduce your brand to is really important to keep them long term. So totally agree with you. But I'm sure that paid media is tough around the holiday season because everyone is dropping money into promotions and everyone wants their product at the top and the most visible. So tell me, how do you handle the competition around Black Friday?
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question. CPMs definitely go up as we get into this time of year because everybody's kind of been sandbagging their budgets a little bit with.
And for people that don't know what a CPM is, what is that?
Oh, sure. CPM, cost per thousand, right?
There
So
you go.
like, how much you pay to get 1,000 impressions, like your ad in front of 1,000 people. Inventory is inventory. Like there's only so many impressions that you can serve based on the amount of times people are hitting your site and the page views they have, et cetera, all the potential places that you can serve an ad. Especially in election years like we have going on right now, like you have the dual situation of like, one, we're getting into like the most expensive time of year for people to advertise, but additionally we're also duking it out with every politician under the sun that wants to get their message in front of people up until we get to the 5th of November and hopefully put a fork in this thing and move on with our lives, right? I mean, to that end, outside of just like the incremental costs that you're likely going to see this year, the returns are also incrementally better, especially if you have a good promotional strategy. And one of the most important things I would say is making sure that there's alignment between all of your marketing channels as far as like, all right, we have this promotion going on this time. We're going to set up the ads to run from here to here. Or even if you have evergreen ads running, you're just changing the copy to reflect that like, hey, this promotion is happening at the same time. And I would say that evergreen ads are good to keep around. I think I talk about that a little bit more in a couple minutes. But yeah, there should be like synchronization between what's happening in email, your on-site messaging, and all of your other different marketing channels that you're leveraging.
For sure. I mean, you're probably, well, like Nicole said, you have to start out so early when it comes to Black Friday, ideally in June. What about paid media? When do you start advertising?
For sure. So, we're it's a little bit more easy on the paid media side just because aside from like, developing creative, which can take some time, and you're going to need assets from clients, or you're going to need to produce, video, photography, whatever you're doing to kind of like message these promotions. There's really like 5 important time periods that we think about. In this case, anywhere from like the beginning of the November to like the first week or so of November seems to have become like the de facto starting point for like when people will get promotional and start talking about like, hey, we've got incredible deals, or we're doing this, that, or the other thing. So like really that's when it starts. And
But don't do it before Halloween.
when do you want to think that they're going to make that jump to all of a sudden it's like we're going into the middle of October? It's fine to start talking about holiday,
It's getting,
right?
I mean, there are Christmas trees all over the stores, so I don't even know what's early anymore.
Yeah.
It's like the meme going on right now. It's like at midnight on the 31st. Suddenly the tree goes up.
Wow.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
We're ready. I mean, if whatever our clients tell us to do, we're going to make
Oh,
it.
I thought you mean you have the tree up. Okay, good. No, not that.
Oh, no. I'm talking about
I will tomorrow. Yeah. I will tomorrow for sure.
There you go.
So yeah, I mean, like really, like November 1st, like all bets are off. You are ready. If you want to start getting promotional, talking about holiday, I think you're ready to do so. To Nicole's earlier point, like having kind of like a promotional calendar where you're like giving people things, but like you're kind of saving the best for last. That's typically the strategy we see be the most successful. Some people just elect to like, hey, we're going to do this discount. We're going to run it for the whole month. I think you miss out on some messaging opportunities with that because like once everybody sees that, it's like, well, I can just buy this anytime during the month. But Yeah. So anywhere up to Black Friday, running whatever, promotions you have. Maybe it's like a buy one, get one, percent off of a category, whatever. Typically, Black Friday, thing that we've seen work best is just like a site-wide significant discount, right? Like take, 30% off of all your purchases, whatever. Cyber Monday, just to drum up activity, we'll see like kind of the second best offer. That's pretty common too. Like you'll get something that's good, but probably not as good of a
Hmm.
discount or offer as Black Friday. And then we've got the Christmas shipping cutoff. So that's like another opportunity to kind of like be promotional and kind of drive urgency around like, hey, you can only order this for so much longer before it's
Mhm.
not going to get there in time for the holidays. And then the final time period, and this is like in that doldrums, like once you hit like the 14th or 15th of November, sometimes going up to the 17th, 18th, like it's hard to guarantee that your goods are going to get there in time for the holiday. So that's the time that a lot of people elect to kind of do that sale on sale. Just you're not going to see the numbers that you did before, but it's just a good way to get people to the site and move off of old inventory at a discount.
Yeah, keep trying. Why not? Well, I mean, Devin, you're in paid media, Nicole's in email. Do you guys align your strategies for this time? Should you advertise the same promotions, products, or do you like target different messaging for different channels? How does it all work together?
There's definitely alignment. We've seen people do like channel specific strategies before, but like the general best practice is that like all your channels are singing the same song and kind of like, just being synergistic with each other. So if somebody like clicks on email, looks at something, doesn't buy, we've fired a bunch of events about that person back into the ad platforms. We know that they looked at this thing. We can hit them with just any number of different campaigns that are either going to show them that product or have a message, that's like, hey, we think this would be great. Here's another reason why you should think about it. Thinking a little bit about creative, actually, though, I'd love to like segue into that if it's okay.
Yeah. Give us
Yeah,
some best practices there.
sure. So one thing that seems a little bit counterintuitive, but actually like works really well is just leave your evergreen ads running. Like if you have ads that are just top performers, like for a long period of time, you don't always have to just turn everything that was working off and, start with fresh campaigns that are strictly speaking promotionally. Like what you can do is you can just like update copy within the ads or just make subtle changes that talk about the promotion, but not like completely start from scratch. Because what ends up happening is if you roll out like brand new campaigns or brand new ads, you're like resetting the clock on learning. Like, the ad platforms are going to have to figure out, what this message is, who it resonates with, who to serve impressions to, and then really it'll take some time to get that dialed in. And that can be tough, especially when some of these promotions that we're talking about don't last a long time. Like, if you have a flash sale going on that's like 2 or 3 days, you won't even get a new campaign out of like the learning period for that. So it seems counterintuitive, but we definitely suggest getting creative that messages promotions out there, but it should be in addition to, not, in replacement of, if that makes sense. Another thing that can be a little counterintuitive, but specifically if you're doing ads that are just messaging promotions, like, hey, we've got this big sale. We see that static ads typically work better for that than video a lot of times. Um, you know,
Interesting. Isn't usually video better performing?
I mean, we
No.
recommend having a pretty good mix of
Oh,
different creative within accounts. And it's hard to make unilateral, like, oh, this one thing that works great for one account might not work as well for another, right? But like, we're always like testing things and trying to identify like whether it's like, statics or video or different hooks, product features, social proof, all like the tried and true ad formats and hooks that work really well. But yeah, static ads where you can just like kind of overlay some tech, some graphics, text, and dot wax onto, like product imagery or beautifully shot lifestyle photography seems like it works really well. Where you're just saying, hey, like 30% off site wide, cool picture in the back as the background, and kind of you're off to the races. And even when it comes to that, like if you are going to do promotional stuff and you haven't done like photography or video specifically for the holiday season, what we would tell you is look at some of your best performing static and video ads from the last 90 days, 180 days, and just create a holiday version of that ad or like a promotional version of that ad. You don't have to like kind of reinvent the wheel here. Like things that have worked in the past will work well, especially if you're kind of adding a promotional element to them. For videos, you can make some animated or static banners and kind of place them on top of some of those like existing creatives that have worked well in the past. Just like subtle tweaks and not like reinventing the wheel.
That makes sense. What about budget? Do you just do as much as you can, as high as you can? What's the best strategy?
I mean, this is a lot easier if you've got historical data to kind of draw on. It's not that things are always static in the world, right? But like obviously we love data to kind of drive our decision making. This year, I'm really curious to see how things are going to do. I mean, obviously anybody that's worked in e-commerce or even just like, is living in the United States with the economy like as it is, it's definitely been a tough time for a lot of folks. So,
Oh yeah.
you can make your best assumptions based on data, but where the rubber meets the road, we don't really know what's going to happen. So I think like, you can look at how much you spent last year, what you returned on that spend, and make a reasonable guess as to what you should be spending this year based on whatever you're forecasting. Like if you're forecasting like how much you want to do in sales, each one of your marketing channels should have a number attached to it that you expect it to kick up based on last year's performance, right? So, that all the math has to math and the numbers have to back out to, all right, if I expect Facebook ads to do 100K in sales this month, then I know that I need to spend, maybe $25,000 or $30,000 based on the ROAS that we saw this time last year. So that's typically how we think about budgeting, is like starting with data, understanding like what's happening now, what's happened in the past, and then making a best guess as far as like we need the channel to do X, so we're going to supply it with Y, and we feel good about that. But like budgets are never static. I mean, like if you get to the middle of the month and things are going really well, add budget.
Yeah, adjust accordingly.
If they're not, you can pull back a little bit. That's part of having good active management within your ads accounts, is like somebody should really be in there looking at these things on a daily basis, especially during this time of year.
Now let's get into website optimization. So I know a lot of our clients don't do any kind of work leading up to the Black Friday, Cyber Monday, because you're afraid to mess anything up. People go into code freeze just to make sure once things are perfect and working, we just keep it this way. And that's probably the best strategy. But what I want to make sure everyone understands is that if your website is not specifically set for mobile conversion, you're going to lose a lot of money during this season, because majority of people are going to be shopping on their phones. You're going to get the email, the SMS, the ad served on Facebook or Instagram. You're going to go on your phone and look at the product. And it shocks me how many websites still are not optimized properly, are not responsive enough when it comes to mobile devices. So yeah, make sure that you look at that and your website is fast. Go through all the collection pages, go through navigations. Things have to just be seamless and flawless. So that's probably the number one tip if I could give anyone. And looking at your checkout process, I think if it's not the holiday season, people are adding a lot of the upsells, cross-sells into your checkout, your cart, and doing all of that. But when you're already doing a lot on the promotional side, all throughout your website, your email, everywhere else, people are doing quick buys because maybe your offer has to do around urgency, and it's because inventory is running out and you're trying to buy it fast. Don't overwhelm your customer. Don't put too much into the cart when it comes to cross sells, upsells, all that good stuff. Keep it as simple as you can to close that sale, because again, we're shopping a lot. You're probably not the only brand I'm shopping with, so that ease when it comes to checkout is really important. And ideally, you started testing and optimizing way before this point, and maybe you've done even some A/B testing. Maybe you know exactly what works best for your customer. But keeping an eye on that data as the sales start coming in is also so important. So that you can adjust in that moment. So ideally, you have tools like Hotjar installed, and you're looking at heat maps, and you're understanding if there's any pain points, and you're reducing and removing in real time. Because again, this is not the time to just sit back. This is the time to actively monitor, track, and optimize. So make sure you're looking at all of that data all around the holiday season. And website is really the final piece, because all these channels, all roads, they all lead to that website sale that we're trying to close so much. And there's so many moving pieces here between email and paid and website optimization. So if there was any advice we could give somebody who's like, oh my God, this is my first year maybe doing the Black Friday, Cyber Monday, where do I begin? Do I start with the website? Do I start with the paid? Where do I start in order to get the most out of the season?
All of that.
What's number one? What do you do?
I mean,
You have
listen,
to have a good place to drive traffic.
website. It's
Website,
100%. Yeah, I agree. Because if your website is not optimized and you're driving traffic to broken pages, things that don't work, you're wasting money.
We have a lot of conversations with people that are looking for help with paid ads. And like Nicole Maria, you can testify to this. I'll tell them, like, I don't think that's where you should be putting your attention right now.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you have a well-designed, functional, thought-out website that like reflects good branding and has like, compelling product and at the right price point, all of those things, then you're just going, so much of your spend will just be wasted. If you had a better web experience, it's going to just lead to better outcomes for all of your marketing. So, especially for smaller businesses and people that are just starting out, they're like, oh, they think that they need traffic first. And it's like, well, yeah, but you probably, to maximize the outcomes of the traffic that you are getting, you probably need to get your website tuned up a little bit first before it's ready for prime time.
Yeah, that was the answer I was hoping for, because we know this time and time again. We see people invest money into channels and then worry about, why am I not getting the conversion I was hoping I get this ROAS. I was hoping this channel does, but maybe the channels would do better if website was optimized to actually close the sale. So yeah, website is definitely, I think, is number one.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I just wanted to touch on the code freeze aspect that you mentioned earlier. When I worked on the brand side, code freeze is a reality, while it be a frustrating reality for a lot of people that are working in brands. There are things that you can do. Like, there's definitely, you need to have a plan going up to code freeze of the major changes that you want to make, because you don't want to get into a time when you're getting a lot of traffic and something is broken. But there are little changes that you can make, especially around merchandising. Navigation, I would definitely try to get that done before. And I want to emphasize navigation as being one of the most important aspects of your site. We've seen 80-90% of people usually go straight into navigation more than clicking on homepage heroes. And we see a lot over and over again in all my years. I've seen people so focused on what ends up on the homepage. And while that's important, oftentimes the navigation gets overlooked. And that is one place that needs to be buttoned up prior to Black Friday. But what you can do in actual code freeze, when I worked on the brand side, I would look at what was selling every day during Black Friday and re-merchandise pages based on that. Because it's really, oftentimes people look for, oh, what's the one thing I can do? That doesn't really exist. It's cumulative, of all the things that you have to do when it comes to a website in particular. There's so many different pages. There's so many different aspects. There are some things that are more important than others, like the navigation. But it's a lot of little tiny things, and merchandising does sometimes get overlooked as well, because you've got a lot of pages sometimes, depending on the type of business that you are. But re-merchandising those pages and moving up products, making sure that you don't have anything at the top that's out of stock, that kind of thing. There are tools that you can use to help, weigh products in different ways and that kind of thing. But oftentimes things change so quickly over Black Friday. I found it's old fashioned way pulling that report every day of like what actually sold. Oh, it was this. Let me move this up. Let me move this down. That kind of thing. Like, because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, another thing, speaking of things that are overlooked, is the post-purchase experience during the holiday season. Once you've closed the sale, don't forget about that thank you page and utilizing it as well, because you could add additional, like Devin said, sale on sale on top of it. You can do a limited time offer. So right as somebody's getting that order confirmation, thank you, you can add, here's within next 5 minutes, you can get this product for half the price. If it's an easy add-on to your order, people will buy it. So post-purchase, that's also a super overlooked strategy. And if you utilize this correctly, you can maximize your profits for sure.
I mean, we've seen that the order confirmation email is oftentimes one of the top performing triggered emails. People come back
there you go.
purchase.
Yeah, I
wouldn't think that it is the truth.
Yeah, I read a study on this that they say the easiest way to close somebody is right after you just closed it. So right after somebody just purchased is the easiest to sell to them again. Keep that momentum going. So yeah, agree.
Yeah, so update your triggers. All your trigger emails.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, good talk. Is there any real life success stories that we can share for any of our clients?
Not speaking directly to client work, but I can remember like when I was on the brand side, probably like the coolest night I had on Black Friday. It was when I was working at Free People, and we had done a ton of work leading up to Black Friday. We had a really great discount, and I remember I like went with my manager that night, and we just like got a 6-pack and put like real-time analytics on his TV just to like see like once the promo like opened up, like the traffic, and it was just like, you know, tens and tens of thousands of people hitting the site at once. And we just sat there and like watched the numbers tick up until we did $1 million day. And it was
that's
the
awesome.
first $1 million day that we did at the brand. And it was just like, you know, I had a little buzz going. It was pretty cool. We love seeing the same types of things for our clients without like, you know, divulging anything to, you know.
Yeah, I kind of miss those days when the sale only happened at the 12 a.m. mark and nobody was doing sales before that. So you really got a front seat to the virtual doors opening up and people starting to come in and purchase, and you're looking at all the data and there's so much, and like that chaos, I feel like was a lot more intense before COVID, where people were a lot more, you know, careful and patient versus now where it's just kind of a slow burn approach, and you're doing sales the week before that.
Yeah. I think some kind of trends that I've seen over my years, all my Black Fridays and Cyber Mondays, doorbusters tend to work well. Save them for actual Black Friday. Release those, you know, if you're a product-based business, like buy into those way ahead of time, like we mentioned earlier. Those really do work. You know, more than one, I would say. Those help to drive traffic a lot. In general, you can use those in all your different marketing channels. They tend to not just buy doorbusters. I know that's often a concern. I think another concern that we often see too is businesses are concerned about the lead up of discount and the change in discounts and how it affects their customer sentiment. You know, sort of like, are they going to be scared that, or are they going to be upset that Cyber Monday was better than Black Friday kind of thing? Which oftentimes we do see a better Cyber Monday than a Black Friday discount. And that is oftentimes shorter than Black Friday, and you have less inventory to choose from. So it's really a trade-off. And I have not seen, as much as we've seen concern about that, I have not seen any sort of widespread negative customer sentiment about a better Cyber Monday deal than a Black Friday deal. And we tend to hear that over and over, that concern from leaders at different brands. But I think customers are used to that. And there's a trade-off. Like I said, if you're in the month, the discount's not as good, you're getting a better choice of product. Once you get into a better discount, you have less choices. It's an age-old trade-off. People are used to it now.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's correct. That's true. Well, some final thoughts as we wrap it up, starting with the website. Don't forget to optimize it for mobile. That's one takeaway I can give you. Make sure that your pages are not just awkwardly responding to my device size and the blocks are long and weird and the text is somewhere down the bottom. Have design that's specifically for the mobile and have it look just as good as on desktop because like I said, expect all those sales to be coming in through the mobile devices. And it's just basically desktop is going out. Every year we see this less and less until it's just going to be gone one day. So just put all your efforts into making the website as optimized as you possibly can for our phones.
I think on the paid ad side, I would stress the importance of data and using it to kind of guide your decision making. If you don't have data from this time last year, look at your couple last recent months, get an understanding of how things are going, and also make sure that you're capturing that data to use next year, right? So like that means like adding UTM tags to your platforms, making sure things are tagged up. And that just doesn't apply to paid ads. That's on the email side, that's on affiliates, all of your other channels. And then finally, double down on the things that are working. Like you don't have to completely reinvent the wheel. If you're a bigger, more established brand and you're going to go out and do a very cool like photo shoot and get great photography or video done, that's great. But if you're not and you have some ads that have worked for you in the past, just update them with like promotional messaging, things like that, and you're off to the races.
I would say for email, look at your full ecosystem of emails. We mentioned welcome series. We mentioned transactional triggers, things like that. Even your shipping confirmation email. Those things take time to update. So email, you really need to get started sometime in September. So updating your messaging, like I mentioned earlier, taking a look at every single opportunity when it comes to the emails that you're actually sending out. Update your photography to be fresh, update your messaging, and think about it from a new customer standpoint, because hopefully you'll have many, many new customers signing up for email.
And if you have any questions or issues with any of what we just talked about, don't hesitate to reach out. We are goldendigital.co. We do all of the things we just talked about. So if you need help, here to help for sure. Thank you guys so much. I think this was a good discussion, especially for our first podcast/webinar. And I hope if you're still watching, you found this valuable. Don't forget to like, subscribe. We have a lot more coming up. We have a lot more knowledge to share with you. So yeah, stay tuned.
Good, faster, cheap podcast, baby.